All right, so get this. Imagine you're not just surviving some tough negotiation,
Yeah.
but like actually thriving in it. That's what we're diving into today. So you gave us Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, a former FBI hostage negotiator. And we're going to explore how his techniques can help us negotiate better in everyday life.
Yeah, and what's really cool is this isn't just about boardroom tactics or million-dollar deals. It's really about understanding the psychology behind, human interaction. And that comes in handy whether you're aiming for, some big business win or just trying to get your kids to eat their vegetables.
It is wild to think that. The FBI used to rely on, these traditional, rational negotiation strategies, like getting to yes and finding common ground. But it turns out they were missing a key ingredient. And they discovered it not in a fancy boardroom.
Yeah.
But in like the chaotic world of hostage situations.
Exactly. Voss realized that emotions were like, this invisible force driving behavior, even in like the most logical discussions. And if you ignore those emotions, you're missing half the picture. So we have to
completely shift his approach from pure logic to what he calls tactical empathy. Now it's not about feeling sorry for the other side, but truly understanding their perspective, their fears, their motivations, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, I'm already intrigued. But here's where it gets really interesting. Voss challenges this. Our typical aversion to the word no in negotiations. Usually we're all about chasing that yes.
Right.
But Voss argues that no can actually be your secret weapon.
Yeah, think about it. No creates psychological safety. It makes people feel in control, and ultimately it helps them face their true needs. So, for example, instead of asking, do you have a few minutes to talk, which kind of pressures someone to say yes, try is now a bad time, it immediately gives them the option to decline without feeling pressure. That's such a subtle shift, and it opens a door for a more genuine conversation because, they haven't been forced into a corner.
And Voss actually experienced this power of no firsthand in his own career. When he wanted to join the FBI's hostage negotiation team, he asked the person in charge, Amy Bondurot, how can I get on board? And her answer, a straight up no.
Ouch, I can feel the sting even from here. Did he just give up then?
Not a chance. Voss kept at it, asking what he could do to learn, gain experience, and prove himself worthy, and Bondurot, impressed by his persistence, finally gave him some guidance. It was that initial no that set him on his path to becoming a leading negotiator.
So what does this mean for the rest of us who aren't facing down hostage situations? How do we leverage this power of no in our daily lives?
Well, it starts with awareness. Pay attention to how you frame your questions. Instead of angling for a yes, consider flipping the script. Give people a safe, pressure-free way to decline. And you might be surprised by what they reveal.
Okay, so instead of chasing yes, we use no as a tool to understand the other person's true needs and build genuine agreement. That's a powerful takeaway, but I'm guessing there's a lot more to unpack here.
Oh, absolutely. Voss has a whole arsenal of techniques. And one of the most fascinating is tactical empathy, which involves a tool he calls labeling. It's all about acknowledging the other person's emotions, basically saying, hey, I see how you're feeling. But the way he does it is incredibly strategic.
All right, now you've got me hooked. Let's dig into this labeling technique because it sounds like it could either go really well or completely backfire. So labeling, it's about acknowledging someone's emotions out loud, which seems risky, but you're saying it can actually make them less defensive.
It is counterintuitive, isn't it? But think about it. We all have these emotions, bubbling under the surface, but most of us try to keep them in check, especially during negotiations. When you label those emotions, it's like you're saying, hey, it's okay to feel this way. I get it. It kind of disarms them and makes them more open to hearing what you have to say.
Okay, but how do you actually do it without sounding like a bad therapist?
Well, Voss gives some great examples. You might say something like, it seems like you're hesitant about this, or it sounds like you're concerned about the deadline. It's not about psychoanalyzing them. It's simply reflecting back what you're picking up on.
I can see how that could build trust, but honestly, I'd be worried about getting it wrong or making them feel even worse.
That's the surprising thing. People rarely push back against labels, even if they're not perfectly accurate. Voss says it's because on some level, they're just relieved that someone is acknowledging their feelings instead of dismissing them.
Okay, so maybe it's not as risky as I thought, but can we get like a real-life example of how this labeling thing actually works in practice? Preferably one that doesn't involve me accidentally offending my boss.
Well, Voss has tons of stories from his time in the FBI, but one that always stands out involves these 3 armed fugitives, barricaded in a Harlem apartment. For 6 hours, he talked to them through the door. using, his calmest, most soothing voice.
I'm picturing him sounding like a late-night radio DJ.
Exactly. And a key part of his strategy was labeling their emotions. He'd say things like, "It looks like you don't want to come out," or "It seems like you're worried that we'll come in with guns blazing."
Wait, he actually said that to armed fugitives.
He did. And by acknowledging their fears and anxieties, he made the situation feel less threatening. It's like shining a light on the elephant in the room. Suddenly it feels smaller and less scary.
So labeling can help diffuse, negative emotions. But is that all it does?
It's much more than that. Labeling builds trust, and it encourages people to open up. When someone feels understood, they're more likely to share information and be receptive to your ideas.
So it's not just about calming people down. It's about creating this foundation for real collaboration.
Exactly. And Voss points out there's even a neurological basis for this. Brain imaging studies have shown that when people are asked to label their emotions, activity in the amygdala, the part of the brain associated with fear, actually decreases.
So by putting feelings into words, we're literally helping to calm the other person's brain. That's fascinating.
It is. And here's another key point about labeling. It can be used to reinforce positive emotions as well. By acknowledging someone's excitement or enthusiasm, you can amplify those feelings and create a more positive negotiating environment.
Okay, so labeling is this multi-purpose tool for managing emotions, both positive and negative. How do I actually start using it without sounding like a robot reading from a script?
We'll start by becoming a better observer. Pay close attention to the other person's words and body language. Look for those subtle cues that reveal their underlying emotions, and then try reflecting those emotions back to them in a genuine, non-judgmental way.
So I can say something like, "It sounds like you're really excited about this project."
Exactly. It sounds simple, but you might be surprised by how powerful that kind of acknowledgement can be.
Now, I remember Voss talks about aiming for, that's right, instead of just a simple yes in negotiations, is there a connection between labeling and this idea?
Absolutely. Labeling is one of the most effective ways to get to "that's right." When you accurately label someone's emotions, asking questions like, what could get in the way of this agreement being successful? This helps surface any hidden concerns or obstacles that could derail the deal down the line.
So it's about proactive problem solving, anticipating challenges before they become major issues. I like it.
Precisely. And by addressing these issues head on, you build trust and create a more collaborative environment where everyone is invested in seeing the agreement succeed.
Okay, so calibrated questions can help us guide the conversation without sounding like we're dictating the terms. I like that. But now I'm really curious about this Ackerman model. It sounds like it's specifically for those times when you do have to haggle a bit. Can you walk me through it?
Absolutely. Voss lays it out in a way that makes it easy to grasp. So the first step is to figure out your target price, the best possible outcome you can realistically hope for. Then you set your first offer 65% of that target.
Whoa, that seems really low. Wouldn't that make the other person think I'm undervaluing their offer?
That's where the psychology comes in. By starting low, you create this sense of momentum and show that you're willing to negotiate. Then you make 3 more offers, increasing to 85%, 95%, and finally 100% of your target price.
So it's a gradual climb towards my goal, but it also signals that I'm serious about reaching an agreement. I like it.
But here's the really interesting part. Between each offer, you use what Voss calls calibrated concessions. Instead of just bumping up the price by a round number, you use specific, non-round numbers.
So instead of offering $100 more, I might offer $103.78. Why does it matter?
Those non-round numbers make you seem more calculated and less arbitrary. It sends the message that you've put a lot of thought into your offer, and you're not just throwing out random figures.
It's like you've done all this complex math to arrive at that precise number, even if you haven't.
Exactly. And the other key to the Ackerman model is using silence strategically. After each offer, you resist the urge to fill the silence and let the other person respond. This can feel uncomfortable, but it's incredibly powerful.
I can imagine that would put a lot of pressure on them to break the silence and make a counteroffer.
It does. And remember, we're aiming for that "that's right" moment. By using the Ackerman model, you're giving the other person a chance to feel like they've negotiated a good deal for themselves, which makes them more likely to commit to the agreement.
Okay, I'm definitely going to try this out next time I need to haggle. But I'm curious, what does Voss say about those situations where the other person is just being completely unreasonable or refusing to budge?
Well, Voss emphasizes the importance of setting boundaries and knowing your worth. If someone is being disrespectful or trying to take advantage of you, you always have the option to walk away.
So it's about being assertive without being aggressive.
Exactly. And sometimes simply being willing to walk away is enough to shift the power dynamic in your favor. It shows the other person that you're not desperate and that you're serious about getting a fair deal.
It's like that saying, sometimes the best deals are the ones you don't make. But all this talk about negotiation has me thinking, are these techniques really just for business deals and hostage situations? Can we use them in our personal lives too?
That's actually one of Voss's main points. He believes negotiation is an essential life skill. Think about it. We negotiate every day, whether we realize it or not. We negotiate with our partners, our kids, our friends, even with ourselves when we're trying to decide what to do with our time.
You're right. I never thought of it that way. But it's true. We're constantly trying to reach agreements and find solutions that work for everyone involved.
And Voss's techniques can help us do that more effectively. They can help us navigate conflict, build stronger relationships, and ultimately get more of what we want out of life.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. Never split the difference. It's packed with so much valuable information. And I'm already starting to see how I can use these techniques in my own life.
And the best part is, it's just the beginning. Voss encourages us to keep learning, keep practicing, and to never assume we have all the answers. There's always room for improvement, and even small changes in our approach can make a big difference.
So what's the one key takeaway you hope our listener walks away with today?
I think Voss sums it up perfectly when he says that the most dangerous negotiation is the one you don't know you're in once you realize that negotiation is an integral part of life. You can start using these tools to navigate your interactions more effectively and achieve better outcomes.
And on that note, we encourage you to pick one technique from today's deep dive and try it out this week. Experiment with the power of no. See how labeling shifts the energy of a conversation, or try framing a calibrated question to get someone thinking differently.
Remember, you don't have to be an FBI hostage negotiator to master these skills. They're accessible to anyone who's willing to learn and put them into practice.
So until next time, happy negotiating.